Day 4 Word of God, Job chapter 5 verse 18. For he maketh sore, and bindeth up, he woundeth, and his hands make whole. The book of Job is a profound exploration of human suffering, divine sovereignty, and faith. In Job chapter 5 verse 18, one of Job's friends, Eliphaz the Temanite, speaks to Job. Eliphaz suggests that suffering may be a form of divine discipline, meant to correct and ultimately benefit the sufferer. He speaks of God's actions in terms that reflect both his capacity to cause pain and his ability to heal. While Eliphaz's overall perspective on Job's suffering is flawed, he wrongly assumes that Job's suffering is due to his sin. This verse offers an insight into the dual nature of God's dealings with humanity, reflecting both his justice and his mercy. For he maketh sore, and bindeth up, suggests that God is both the one who allows or causes suffering, maketh sore, and the one who heals or restores, bindeth up. This statement emphasizes God's sovereignty and his dual role in the lives of his people. The idea is that God may permit or even bring about pain for a purpose, but he also provides healing and comfort. He woundeth, and his hands make whole, reinforces the same idea. The term, woundeth, indicates that God may permit or cause wounding, perhaps as a form of discipline, correction, or testing. However, his hands make whole assures us that God is also the healer who restores and brings wholeness. This reflects a balance between divine discipline and divine restoration, showing that God's actions, even when painful, ultimately aim toward healing and wholeness. In Psalm chapter 147 verse 3, David says, "He heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds." David acknowledges God's role in both allowing pain and providing comfort and healing. God's discipline often comes with a promise of restoration and renewal. Throughout the Old Testament, Israel experienced both judgment and restoration. In Hosea chapter 6 verse 1, the prophet says, "Come, let us return to the Lord, for he has torn us, that he may heal us. He has struck us down, and he will bind us up." This reflects the same dual action of God, wounding to heal, disciplining to restore. Jesus often healed those who were suffering and wounded, showing God's desire to bring wholeness and restoration. Matthew chapter 4 verse 23-24. Jesus' actions demonstrated that even in situations of suffering, God's ultimate intention is healing and restoration. In 2 Corinthians chapter 12 verse 7-10, Paul speaks of a thorn in the flesh, given to him to keep him humble. He describes how God's grace is sufficient for him and that God's strength is made perfect in weakness. This shows that even when God allows suffering, it is for a greater purpose of spiritual growth and reliance on God. For believers today, Job chapter 5 verse 18 is a reminder that God is both sovereign over our suffering and faithful in our healing. It encourages us to trust in God's purposes, even when we face pain or hardship. This verse challenges us to see our suffering as part of a larger divine plan that includes not only discipline or testing but also healing and restoration. It calls us to believe that God's ultimate intention is our wholeness and spiritual well-being. This verse also invites us to find comfort in knowing that God is intimately involved in every aspect of our lives, including our struggles. It reassures us that while God may permit or bring difficulties for a season, he is always working toward our ultimate good and healing. In a world where pain and suffering are often seen as meaningless, Job chapter 5 verse 18 encourages us to trust in God's purposeful care and his ability to bring healing and wholeness, even out of our deepest wounds. God bless you and give you grace after grace.